Have you ever stopped to think about how complex human language really is? I mean, stop and think about it. You can be talking about something with your parents in the kitchen. Maybe you're getting ready for dinner and you're trying to remember who the actor was in a particular movie. And nobody can remember. So you go on, you're preparing dinner, you're getting the dishes set out, and all of a sudden you remember. And you say, oh, Toby Maguire. Now, there's been a lot of other conversation in between you're wondering about who was in the movie and getting the dinner ready and so forth. But suddenly when you say, oh, Toby Maguire, everybody who is in the conversation knows what you're talking about, even though there have been other things said in between. Human language is it's complex, right? It's not linear. It doesn't go in a straight form. And consider a sentence like this. The orange cat with the purple polka dots on its back, who usually ate mice for dinner, but only when there wasn't pepperoni pizza, sat, but not for very long, because this particular cat had a nervous disorder and liked to claw the curtains a lot, on a mat that was woven of thread from Indonesia, which had been brought to the cat's particular country by means of a spaceship. Now that's a long, convoluted sentence, but if you boil it all down, it comes down to the simple sentence, cat sat. All those other words are just extra information, and maybe it's good information to tell you more about the cat and what kind of mat the cat sat on. But the simple sentence is simply cat sat. And the reason we're talking about that today is that when we get into logic, we need to analyze arguments to see whether or not they are valid. And to do that, we're going to have to do some simplifying of everyday ordinary language, which, as we've just seen, can be very complex. Now let's get very clear about the definition of valid. So make sure you've got your notes out and are ready to go. An argument is valid when it uses right reasoning form, regardless of the content. That's the key thing about validity. It focuses on form as opposed to content. I'll take this little example here as an illustration. All music that Mr. Perkins listens to is good music. All 80s music is music that Mr. Perkins listens to. All 80s music is good music. The form of that argument is valid. Now you may challenge the truth of some of those statements. You may say, well, sometimes Mr. Perkins listens to music that's not very good. And you may say, well, all 80s music, there's some 80s music that Mr. Perkins never even heard of. So he's not listening to all 80s music. And you might even challenge the conclusion that all 80s music is good music, although I would encourage you not to challenge that if you actually want to get an A in this class. But seriously, all those propositions put together make a valid argument because their form is valid. Now, in order to determine validity of an argument, we need to translate ordinary language into what we call symbolic form, so that we can more easily determine validity. In fact, you need to write that down in your notes. So again, back up the video if you need to, but I'll say it again slowly. We need to translate ordinary language, so just the way you and I ordinarily speak, into symbolic language, so that we can more easily analyze and determine validity. So the first step to getting an argument into symbolic form is to put its propositions into categorical form. And the way to do that is to arrange the propositions so that each one either affirms, that is, supports something, or negates, that is, denies something. So let me say that one more time. In order to get an argument into symbolic form, you first have to put its propositions into categorical form, which means arranging its propositions so that each proposition either affirms or negates something. Now, let's make sure we're really clear on the terminology. Symbolic form refers to an argument that can be easily evaluated for its validity. Categorical form refers to the arrangement of terms in each proposition of the argument so that each proposition either affirms, that is, supports, or negates, that is, denies something. So the big takeaway here is that symbolic form refers to an argument and categorical form refers to the arrangement of terms in each proposition. And in case you've forgotten what all that means, our little logic dragon over here says, remember, an argument is made out of propositions, and each proposition is made out of terms. Now you may be wondering exactly what is a proposition. Well, as the little fellow in blue says, a proposition is a declarative sentence that has a truth value. And it's key that you get both parts of that. A declarative sentence, that's one part, that has a truth value, that's the second part. Those two together make up a proposition. And the girl in the golds reminds us that a truth value means that a sentence expresses something that is either true or false. Okay? So for example, certain sentences can either be true or false, pretty obviously. Right? I could say something like, this table is wood. Well, that's a declarative sentence. It has a truth value, and the truth value is true. This table is indeed made of wood. I could have also declared, this table is glass. That's also a declarative sentence, and it has a truth value. The truth value is false. Obviously, this table is not glass. But I want to make sure we're clear on what declarative sentence means, because there's lots of expressions that are not declarative sentences and therefore cannot be a proposition in logic. Take, for example, this class. The teacher says, "Good morning, class." Well, that expression, "good morning, class," is a greeting. It's not a full declarative sentence, and there's no truth value to it. It's neither true nor false. The student in blue shouts out, "Yo, teacher!" That's an exclamation, hence the exclamation mark at the end. And again, there's no truth value to that. Now, the fellow dressed in black says, "Stop being rude." He knows the guy sitting next to him is not being very nice, and so he issues him a command. That's a sentence, but it's not a declarative sentence. It doesn't have truth value, and therefore it can't be a proposition. And finally, the student over there in green, maybe he was getting his materials out and wasn't paying a whole lot of attention, and he looks up and he says, "What did the blue guy say?" Well, that's a question. It's a type of sentence, but it's not declarative, and it does not have truth value. So it can't be a proposition. And then there's our logic dragon, who's over there thinking, "I think humans, while tasty, are quite strange." Now that's an example of what we call self-report. It is declarative. I think humans are strange. That's a declarative sentence. But it really doesn't have truth value because there's no way to know or get into another person's head to know whether or not that is true or false. So we really can't say it has truth value, and therefore that is not a proposition. And there's one other type of sentence which, to be honest, we see very rarely. It's called the nonsense sentence. Take this one for example. "'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe." Let's see if you can spot where that's from. Does anybody recall the famous poem or the book that comes from? Well, that's a poem called Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. It's part of the Through the Looking Glass story, the Alice in Wonderland story. So the main things you want to get away or take away from this today are that in order to evaluate an argument for validity, we really need to get the argument into what we call symbolic form. And to do that, we have to make sure the terms and the propositions are arranged in categorical form, which means that the propositions all need to be declarative sentences with truth value. And to give you an example of a declarative sentence with a truth value, I'm going to give you one right now. Are you ready? Here we go. This video is over.